Okay, I think we're live. Yeah, we are. Okay, well, hello everybody. Welcome to another video here. So, this is a live video, as you can tell. This is going to be a video about the 2026 MLB season. So, I have done stuff like this before. Excuse me. I I did do one last year, and the Orioles really didn't do all that great last year, but we had a pretty good World Series between the Toronto Blue Jays and the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Dodgers were victorious and won their second straight World Series. They beat the Yankees in the first one. That was actually a pretty good series. I mean, despite the thing that happened between Mookie Betts and that fan, where Mookie made the catch and the fan tried to rip, the baseball out of his glove and all that bullshit. I mean, other than that, it was a pretty good World Series. But the one we had recently was actually pretty good. A lot of people are rooting for the Toronto Blue Jays, though, and I'm like, why? I mean, the Blue Jays won the World Series in 1993, and the sad thing was that some Oriole fans, were wishing, for the Blue Jays to win. And again, why? I mean, I know there were some former Orioles like Kevin Gosman on there. I don't really know about any others because I don't know any other players on the roster that played for the Orioles. I mean, just Jeff Hoffman, but he wasn't an Oriole. He almost was an Oriole if he wanted to sign with them. But originally he was going to, but something like do with his physical or something or whatever. But anyway, it was a pretty good World Series, and I'm glad the Dodgers won. I really was not rooting for the Blue Jays the whole entire time. So hopefully we have some people that come in here too and say their predictions as well too. But we'll see about it. I'm not really doing a whole lot of videos, like I used to and stuff. And I still don't have the old channel. I wish I did because I have more subscribers on there. But um, unfortunately, it was linked to my old phone number. So if anybody can try and maybe help me out with that, and I can try and get that channel back, that would be pretty awesome. But anyway, I just finished having dinner as well too, and I'm pretty full from that. But I figure I'd do a video, and I might do another video. Well, not on here, maybe something different, but we'll see. So anyway, the Orioles really had a pretty decent season last year, but they wound up trading Cedric Mullins, their outfielder, to the New York Mets, and they traded their pitcher Sir Anthony Dominguez, which I really didn't understand why they would trade him, in the middle of a doubleheader. I don't like when people do that. I don't like when Orioles, trade players right in the middle, of a doubleheader, and then they, put them on the other team. I was disappointed they got rid of Dominguez and Cedric Mullins. He had been with the team since 2018, but it is what it is, I guess. And Cedric has now signed with the Tampa Bay Rays, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be on the opening day roster. He'll probably be in the opening day lineup because they did release the rosters, for everybody today. We do have baseball going on tonight between the New York Yankees and the San Francisco Giants. I think the game is on Netflix or something like that, but it's totally all right. It is the first game tonight, and um, I'll still do like my predictions, for that team and the other one, despite with the game going on. But it's definitely no problem. So anyway, here we go. Let me turn the channel as well too because I don't know why I'm watching Friends on Nickelodeon. I hate that stupid show. It's one of the most overrated TV shows of all time. Was watching Two and a Half Men, but it wasn't really a episode I'm too big on. But anyway, we're not talking about TV shows. Here we go. So anyway, uh, I'm not big on that episode either. So we're going to start with the American League East. So as always, I mean, I always go with this team for first place, and I'm doing it because of the fact that I am going with the Baltimore Orioles for first place. I like to pick my hometown team. I mean, if we had a roster that looked really awful and stuff, like people on the rosters that were like, players like past their prime and all that stuff, like players that, are veterans and all that stuff. like how he looked probably in the year of 2020 and 2021, yeah, we really didn't have a good roster. Like in, well, 2020 didn't really count because it was COVID, unfortunately. And 2021, we had Cedric Mullins, Trey Mancini, or Anthony Santander, Jorge Mateo, Hanser Alberto, Ryan Mountcastle, Jesus Sucre or Pedro Severino. Pedro Severino, I think we had, and a few others. I mean, at that time, we weren't really contenders, you know. And we had pitchers like John Means and I think Asher Wojciechowski was still there. Don't think Alex Cobb was. Uh, there was probably a few others too that were on the roster, but really, at that time, you know, we were not really contenders. I mean, we could have used, you know, a lot of better players at that time, and I really don't know what my predictions were at that time. But anyway, so for 2026, I'm definitely going with the Baltimore Orioles for first place, and I'm not saying like how many losses and stuff because every time I do that, you know, I know it's 162 games that we play, but the fact is I always get it wrong, you know, and I get, you know, the wins and then the losses, you know, totaled up, and I'm not really good with adding a lot of times, but it doesn't really matter. So the Orioles have, you know, got new players. They got Taylor Ward from the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. They traded Grayson Rodriguez, which to me was very, very, I don't know, questionable, like why they did that, because I thought they were going to give Grayson another chance because Grayson didn't pitch at all in the 2025 season to injuries. He came up in 2023 and did not too bad, but 2024 he was pretty good, but then I think he had an injury and missed the rest of the season. And then he didn't pitch at all in 2025. He was making some progress, but then he got hurt again, all that stuff. So Taylor Ward will be our left fielder, and Grayson Rodriguez, from what I heard, will start the season on the injured list for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Of course, I'm like, wow, looks like we dodged a bullet again because we got rid of Anthony Santander. He went to Toronto. He didn't have a great season. We got Tyler O'Neill from the Boston Red Sox. He hasn't really done all that well, but he has stayed healthy, and hopefully he has a good season this year. And Anthony Santander is starting the season on the injured list for the Blue Jays. And Corbin Burns, who we lost from the 2024 season, 2025, he signed with the Arizona Diamondbacks, and he wound up getting injured like later in the season, and he knew it, like just the way that it was or whatever, and he was like, "You got to take me out of the game," and they did, and he wound up having Tommy John surgery. Now he is starting the season on the injured list, but he'll probably be back probably around maybe August or September, or a good possibility he may not pitch at all for this season. But anyway, um, the Orioles also have players on the roster like Colton Cowser. They still have him. Of course, Gunnar Henderson. The third base spot is going to be handled probably by Kobe Mayo because of the injury to Jordan Westberg, and he's going to start the season on the injured list. He'll probably be back maybe the month of June or probably the All Star break, but we don't really know yet because there's no time yet for when he can return. Jackson Holiday is another person that's injured, but we have some good news on him. He will start a rehab on Friday, which will be good because he won't miss a lot of playing time. He'll probably be back sometime next week or probably a little less than 2 weeks. Um, the first base spot is going to be handled by a new person, and that is Pete Alonso. The Orioles signed him to a big contract for about 5 years, I think. That really surprised the hell out of me because I did not expect the Orioles to sign Pete Alonso because I looked at the roster and looked at the free agents and I was going to do like some predictions and I was like, there's no way the Orioles would sign him. And sure enough, they did. So he did okay in spring training. You know, he got off to a good start. He hit a couple of home runs, but right now, he got off to a little bit of a Well, he didn't really do all that much, later on in spring training, but he will be the first baseman. And of course, the two catchers, Adley Rushman and Samuel Basayo. But we do have our pitchers as well too. We've got our ace Trevor Rogers, who put up incredible numbers in 2025, which is really unheard of. We didn't expect Trevor Rogers to do this good. He came back in the month of May, I think it was, and he was 8-2 to finish the season with an ERA under 2, which is really incredible because once again, Trevor Rogers we thought was going to be traded or he wasn't going to come onto the roster at all, but he did because of somebody that was probably injured. Well, Kyle Bradish started the season on the injured list, but he won't this season. He'll be a number 2 starter. And Dean Kramer was also in the rotation. He had some good games and some bad games. And Zach Eflin, who was our opening day starter last year, wound up not being able to pitch, in the month of 2025, or the year, excuse me. But he did, but he just had an injury, unfortunately, and he was unable to pretty much pitch, a good amount of games. But he did later on, but he just was pretty much hurt a good amount of times. So yeah, um, we also did also uh, get a couple other pitchers, and yeah, the Orioles also signed free agent pitcher Chris Bassett, who pitched for the Toronto Blue Jays and put up some pretty good numbers. ERA was a little bit high, but he does fill out the Orioles' number 4 spot in the rotation, and the number 3 spot goes to Shane Baz from the Tampa Bay Rays that the Orioles acquired. Struck out a good amount of people, but also had a little bit of a high ERA, but not as high as Chris Bassett. So as it was, the Orioles were going to have a 6-man rotation, but now they sent down Dean Kramer to the minors. So don't know exactly why they would do that. I guess they just want to get him some work. But Kramer will start in the minors, and the rotation will pretty much be Trevor Rogers, Kyle Bradish, Shane Baz, or Baz either way, Chris Bassett, and Zach Eflin. Or if you want to go the other way, but I think that's pretty much how it is, or it could be Baz at number 4 and Bassett at number 3, but I think it's going to be, the other way. But still, the bullpen, we still don't have Felix Bautista. Unfortunately, Felix Bautista is recovering from an injury and he had surgery. I think it was labrum surgery or something like that. And he probably won't be back until maybe August or maybe late July if we're lucky, or sometime in August or maybe September. But it'd probably be best if he just missed the rest of the season. But we did sign him to like a 1-year deal or something. So next year he would be a free agent. But it's just a shame, because Bautista was really untouchable, in the 2022 season, like later on when the Orioles got rid of that closer, Jorge Lopez, and then Bautista pretty much was lights out. Then he did the same thing in 2023, and he was doing really, really good. He made the All Star roster. He did get the loss, for the American League, but he still was dominant. But then he had his injury. He missed all of 2024. The Orioles signed Craig Kimbrell to take over his place, and that was god awful. Then we got Bautista back in 2025, and he put up, some saves and all that. He blew maybe about 3 of them or something like that, but he didn't have the velocity like he did before, like how his fastball would hit 100 or 102 miles per hour. Because when you have surgery like that, I'm pretty sure he had Tommy John surgery, and when that happens, you kind of lose the velocity on your fastball. But like I said, Bautista won't be able to pitch for a good while, and the Orioles are, yes, signed free agent closing pitcher Ryan Helsley, who has been I think he was an All Star with the St. Louis Cardinals, and he pitched with the New York Mets last year, and I think he blew about 7 saves, but I'm not worried about that. I'm very confident that I think he'll do a pretty good job. Probably not as good, I think, as Felix Bautista, but I think, well, I don't think. I'm pretty sure that he'll do a better job than Craig Kimbrell. I mean, I thought Kimbrell for sure, was going to do a really good job with us. He won some games, but he did blow some saves, but he still got the win, when the Orioles like walked the game off, at home or, they face against a team on the road and stuff, you know what I mean? But we also have relief pitchers as well, too. Grant Wolfram is one of them, and Dietrich Enos or something, whatever the name is, I don't really know. We also got Tyler Wells, who will probably be our long relief pitcher. Like if somebody's injured or whatever, and he'll make the start, or if somebody just needs, a day off, and he'll probably be a spot starter, something like that. And we also got Yennier Cano. I don't know why, because this guy doesn't really need to be on the opening day roster, but I wish personally they would have got rid of him. And Keegan Aiken is going to start the season on the injured list with a back injury or something that he has. So unfortunately, that's just kind of the way it is, with the pitching. But I still blame the pitching clock. I really think the pitching clock needs to go, and that way they don't have to keep rushing their pitches. Like when the clock is at 20 seconds and it goes all the way down, to 10 and then 5, and then they got to make their pitch or they're going to get penalized and it'll be an automatic ball for the batter. It's just really stupid, how they change things over the years. But nonetheless, still predicting the Orioles for a first place finish. And I'm saying 93 wins. As for losses, I'm really not sure. So it would probably have to be about 10, 20, 30. Uh, Probably would be okay. I'm not too good with this, so let me try and see if I can. I know I'm not going to get this right. So 10, 20, 30, 70. That would probably be 93 and 69, something like that. No, that's not right. Or yeah, no, I'm not too sure. I'm trying to add up like what's 162, like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. The That should be right. It should be 93 and 69 because um I'm what's 93 plus 69? It's 162. I was right. Okay. So, all right. So 93 and 69, I say for the Orioles, but I'm not going to do the rest of them. That's going to take way too much time in this video. All right. So let's move on. I know it took a lot of time on that with the Orioles, but let's go through these as quickly as I can. I don't, I don't know curfew or anything like that. I'm just saying, let's just go through the rest of them. All right. Second place, I'm going to go with the New York Yankees. I know a good amount of people are picking the Yankees for first, probably at least 70% of people, but they don't have Garrett Cole on the roster and they don't have Carlos Rodon. They're injured, but they do have Luis Gill, but I think Luis Gill was optioned to AAA. But they do have Max Fried, who's done an incredible job, and they also got Cam Schlittler, who did pretty well in the playoffs. They lost Devin Williams. I think it was to the New York Mets. The closer role, I forget his name because I haven't really. If I had like a computer, I'd be able to do this a little bit better than the other way, with instead of like doing this from my phone. But trying to, well, I'm not gonna keep wasting a lot of time. But they do have, of course, the MVP, Aaron Judge, could be a possibility to win the MVP once again. Yeah, Ben Rice, Jazz Chisholm. Uh, don't think Anthony Volpe is healthy. I think he's hurt, something like that, or he may be in the minors. I don't really know. I didn't really check the whole entire roster. I don't think he was really on there though. But Ryan McMahon is another person at third base, and they got uh, Giancarlo Stanton, who would be the designated hitter, and they re-signed Cody Bellinger. I mean, they got a lot of big names in the roster, but I'm still, you know, I'm at least hoping, they get a second place finish and the Orioles, get first place. That's really how I want it. But Yankees, I say for second place, probably about 89 wins. I mean, I think it'll be a battle between Baltimore and New York. Third place, I'm going to go with the Boston Red Sox. I know again people are probably predicting another team, but the Red Sox have got people in the rotation like Garrett Crochet, Sonny Gray, and Ranger Suarez. I mean, people probably aren't too big, on Sonny Gray because they probably think that he's, you know, not really put up the best amount of numbers, but they got a Aroldis Chapman in the bullpen. They also got a few others. Uh, Trevor Story, is one of the veterans on there. They do have some injuries to some players and stuff, but they got, a pretty good roster, they really do. And I think they can still put together a good season, probably better than the fourth place team. So Red Sox for third place, I say about 86 wins. Fourth place, I'm going to go with the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, again, I know people are probably picking them to probably at least, finish first place or even win the World Series, which I think is a bunch of hooey. But they have Kevin Gosman, yes, I know, and they re-signed Max Scherzer as well too. Not too thrilled about that. I think Scherzer should have retired, but they got Vlad Jr. and George Springer still there, but they did lose Bo Bichette to the New York Mets, and I think that's going to hurt them a little bit. But they do have like other people to also fill out that spot. There's I think Andres Jimenez is there, and I don't know about Davis Schneider if he can play shortstop, but they also got Alejandro Kirk as well, the catcher, and Jeff Hoffman still their closer, and that's pretty much about it. But I say about probably 80 wins they get, and 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So that would be pretty much 80 and 82, I think, yeah. If they had 80 wins, it'd be 80 and 82, because, but again, I'm not going through all that stuff. And it did also sign Dylan Cease, a pitcher from the San Diego Padres. And last place will have to be, of course, the Tampa Bay Rays. There's not really a whole lot to say about them, even though with them, signing Cedric Mullins, and I hope he does well with them, but not a whole lot in the rotation. Just Drew Rasmussen and players on the roster like I forgot a good amount of the names. Unfortunately, I think there was somebody named Springs, but unfortunately, I don't remember the names. If I had like the computer and stuff, or something like that, I'd be able to get the rosters up, but I can't. Trying to figure out if there was a way I could, on here on this TV I have, but no. Anyway, um, Tampa Bay Rays in last place. I say about 69 wins they get. So yeah. Uh, so that would be like the Orioles, like the Orioles would be 93 and 69, like I said, and the Rays would be 69 and 93. So, all right. Anyway, now we're moving on to the American League Central. Let's again, not waste a whole lot of time and see how I can do with this. First place, I'm going to go actually with the Detroit Tigers. The Tigers have stacked up, in their rotation. They have the Cy Young Award winner, Tarek Skubal. They have veteran Jack Flaherty, but he didn't really put up the greatest numbers. They signed left-hander Framber Valdez. People are disappointed he didn't sign with Baltimore, but I think personally he's not really a good influence, and I'm glad Baltimore didn't get him, but he does join the Tigers. They lost Jackson Jobe, I believe, one of their pitchers who's going to be out, I think, for the rest of the season. I think Reese Olson is another person that's injured, I think. But nonetheless, they do have a pretty good rotation. And people like Riley Green and Dylan Dingler, I think, or I'm not really sure if he's a starter. I think he is. But the rest of the players, I'm trying to remember again, but it'd just be a lot better if I had the names up. Unfortunately, I don't. Spencer Torkelson is another player, and there's a person that's making the roster, and I think it's Kevin McGingle, I think. I'm terrible with names. I'm sorry, but I remember hearing about that player making the roster. But yeah, I think the Tigers will put together a pretty good season. I say about 89 wins they get. Second place in the Central. This one is a tough one because I'm stuck between a few of the teams because you got Cleveland and you got Kansas City and Minnesota. So I'm probably going to take a shot at this one. I think I'm going to go with Cleveland. That probably is a little bit questionable right there for that one, but Cleveland, they don't. Well, they have Tanner Bibby. He's pretty good, and they've got Jose Ramirez. Um, and sorry about that, folks. Should have had this phone, lined up a little bit better. I don't know why I did that. I'm on. Sorry. Stephen Kwan is another person on the roster, and Kyle Manzardo, I think, is one of them. Or no, is that no? I think it's Travis Bazana because Kyle Manzardo, I think, is for another team, or unless he's on. Again, I'm terrible with the names. I'm sorry. I'm probably gonna have to just forget the names, and just go with the rest of the people, on the roster. Well, just forget about the names on the roster and just get through it anyway. But they don't have Emmanuel Classe because him and another person have been in trouble with the gambling thing or something. That's been going on with them. Don't think it's going to hurt them in the bullpen, but I still think Cleveland does well and gets about 85 wins and probably a wild card spot. Uh, Third place is going to have to go to the Minnesota Twins. The Twins, Byron Buxton's a really good player. Joe Ryan and Pablo Lopez in rotation. Unless Pablo is hurt, I really don't know for sure. Uh, but I like Minnesota. They're facing Baltimore tomorrow for the opening day game, and again, I thought Joe Ryan would join the Orioles, in a trade, and join us, but he doesn't. He's still with Minnesota, and could he possibly be traded? It is a possibility, but the rest of the players on there, again, I'm trying to remember their names, but I'm sorry to everybody out there. I know everybody's probably going to get mad, but Minnesota is a pretty good squad, but I don't think they're going to have a winning record, though. I think they have about at least, probably 77 wins. Fourth place would be the Kansas City Royals. Yeah, the Royals, not really a whole lot to say. Salvador Perez is still there, great player and stuff. Bobby Witt Jr. I know people are probably going to say Kansas City should be in second place, but I think it's the pitching that kind of just concerns me a little bit. But I don't think they're going to, put it together. I think Kansas City gets a fourth place finish and about 76 wins. And last place would have to be of unfortunately the Chicago White Sox. I know my friend Brandon, or my bro, sorry, bro, but yeah, unfortunately, I don't see the White Sox, doing that much. Unfortunately, I mean, I know they got a lot of young players coming up. I'm pretty sure Kyle Manzardo is one of them because I'm pretty sure Travis Bazana is on Cleveland. What team does Kyle Manzardo play for? Here's an answer from Wikipedia. Oh, he does play for Cleveland. Okay. What team does Travis Bazana play for? Here's an answer from Wikipedia. That's not it. Travis Bazana. I found this on the web. That's not helping because he doesn't know the name. I know Kyle Teal is one of them for the White Sox. He's a upcoming player because when I played MLB The Show, they had like a lot of these names on the rosters that were like upcoming names. But the rotation, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of people there, that we know, but they have Sir Anthony Dominguez that they signed. Don't think exactly he will stay with the White Sox. He could be the closer, but I could see him going to another team, maybe back to Philadelphia. I don't think the Orioles would want to get him unless Ryan Helsley doesn't have a great season, but hoping though that he does. But I would take Dominguez over Yenier Cano for sure, but I don't think they would do that. Anyway, White Sox I think get about 62 wins. Don't think they're going to get a whole lot, and probably get the first round draft pick in the MLB draft for next season, I'm sure. And now for the American League West. First place, I'm going with the Seattle Mariners. Yeah, they got Cal Raleigh and people like Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, Luis Castillo. Pretty sure they're on the roster, but other other people that play for them too, like Julio Rodriguez is a really good player, and I think they no, that was somebody else I'm thinking of. I'm sorry, but I think Seattle puts together a good season. I think 89 wins sounds pretty reasonable. Second place. Let me think this over just a little bit. Second place. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Texas Rangers. I think Rangers, do pretty good. Jacob Degrom, they have, and they got Nathan Eovaldi as well too. Eovaldi, from what I heard, is going to be the opening day starter instead of Degrom, and I'm kind of questionable about that. I mean, because usually it would be Jacob Degrom, but okay. They got Wyatt Langford, and they got I don't think I'm not sure about Evan Carter, but they got Corey Seager, of course. Um, I don't think Marcus Semion's on another team, and they lost to Dolis Garcia, but I don't think that's going to matter. I still think they get about 86 wins. Third place. Uh, hmm. This is where it gets a little bit tough. Man, oh man, oh man. Uh, yeah, this is where it gets a little bit difficult now because the rest of these teams I really got to think about. I should have done a little bit more thinking about this, but I'm just gonna I'm just gonna go with this. I'm gonna go with the Astros. I don't want to, but they got Altuve and Correa. They don't have Bregman anymore, and but they do have Jordan. Got some people in the rotation, but it's not really like a roster like it used to be like back in the day when they won the freaking World Series in 2017 and 2022. Yeah, but not. I'm definitely hoping they don't make the playoffs because I'm tired of seeing them in the playoffs. I prefer when they get eliminated. Can't stand the Astros. I call them the Trastros or the Astros. But sorry, no, to all you people in Texas that care for them, but I don't. Astros thinking about 82 wins. Fourth place, I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Unfortunately, they do have a lot of new names. They got a new manager and new coach, Brady Anderson. First time ever that Brady Anderson has is going to be a coach for a major league team. He like worked for the Baltimore Orioles organization, like in the office or whatever, but never like in the dugout as a coach. Really think they should have done that for him. He could have been a great hitting coach or maybe even a manager. But nonetheless, he is the new hitting coach for the team, and he's going to be number 99. He is not number 9 because I think it's owned by Zach Neto, the shortstop for the team. But they still have the future Hall of Famer Mike Trout. Of course, everybody's probably going to say, no, Mike Trout's not a Hall of Famer. Yeah, he is. I mean, he hasn't put up the numbers like he did, in 2013 and 14 and so on, but he's still a guy, that has got some years left, and I'm pretty sure, 100% sure he'll be a Hall of Famer. And I got Joe Adell. I don't know about Jorge Soler, but the pitchers, that's where it's, kind of questionable because Grayson Rodriguez will be on the injured list, and same with Alek Manoah, who used to pitch for the Toronto Blue Jays. The opening day starter, from what I heard, is Jose Soriano, and he's done, pretty well and stuff, but not the greatest. But I say they get about 73 wins. And last place, I'm going with the Athletics. I mean, to me, it's still the Oakland Athletics, and supposedly, like next year or 2 years, they're going to be the Las Vegas Athletics, something like that. Like what they did with the Raiders, when they took them from Oakland and it became the Las Vegas Raiders. So yeah, I mean, athletics, they got Nick Kurtz and Tyler Soderstrom, I think, is one. Brent Rooker, I think, is still on the team. Because if I had, if I was doing this on my phone, I'd be able to see the whole entire roster and I'd be able to give my opinions about them and stuff. But I can't, so I'm just going to do it like this. But hope everybody's enjoying it anyway. But athletics, I think, get about 70 wins. And that's it for the American League. Now we can go to the National League. So we'll begin with the National League East. For my first place pick, I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Phillies. The Phillies, still got good pitchers on there. They got Christopher Sanchez, Aaron Nola, pretty sure is still there, but I think Zach Wheeler is going to start the season on the injured list. Don't think he's out for the rest of the season, but they still got the overrated Bryce Harper. Kyle Schwarber has re-signed with them. I think they did lose Nick Castellanos. He went to a different team. Um, but they're still, a pretty good team, and I think they still put together a good season, get about 90 wins. Second place, I'm gonna say now again. I gotta think this over. It's between these two teams, but it could be flip flopping. It could be this way or that way. All that. But I'm gonna go with the Atlanta Braves. I know it probably should be the other team, but the Braves are just like a little bit more. Yes, they have Chris Sale and Ronaldo Lopez, but Spencer Strider is going to begin the season on the injured list. He'll probably be back sometime maybe in the month of May, I think, or maybe late April. I'm not sure. But they got Matt Olson, Ozzy Albies, Austin Riley, former Oriole Jorge Mateo made the roster, which I'm extremely happy about. Michael Harris is still there, and Ronald Acuna is healthy, and hopefully a lot of them stay healthy. And as far as the other teams too, hopefully everybody stays healthy as well. But I mean, don't think exactly they would put up a first place finish, but you never know. Braves, I say, get about 86 wins. And third place, I'm going to go with the New York Mets. People probably think that they should probably either be in second or maybe even first. Well, losing Pete Alonso is going to be a little bit of a difficult thing. So they signed Jorge Polanco and they also signed Marcus Semien. They do have Mark Vientos, but don't know. I didn't really read the whole entire roster. If like anybody is hurt and all that, or who. I didn't really like looking to see who made the roster. But yeah, the pitching they did acquire Freddie Peralta from the Brewers, and they got a few others like Nolan McLean and the closer Edwin Diaz, who's pretty good. But I still think a third place finish, for them seems pretty right. That's pretty much what I think. And I'd say about 80 wins they get. Fourth place, I'm going to go with the Miami Marlins. Probably should be the other way around, but I'm going with the Marlins. There isn't really a whole lot to say. I mean, Sandy Alcantara, I think, is eventually going to get traded from that team. I don't think the Orioles is a possibility. I see it more as like maybe the excuse me, the Texas Rangers, or maybe the maybe some team in the American League. I mean, I don't think the Dodgers, would be that crazy, to get another pitcher. They have enough. But I say he probably gets traded to another team. Marlins, I think, get about 71 wins. And last place, the Washington Nationals. Now, again, I think people are probably going to disagree and probably going to say that what is it? I was looking at something on the TV here, and I forgot I was talking about. I'm sorry. Um, what is it? The Nationals. Yeah, there's not really a whole lot to say. I mean, it's just unfortunate. They did well over the years, and they did have a pretty good spring training as well. But don't think it's going to be good enough in the season. I think about 64 wins they get. Now the National League Central, and this is where it gets a little bit confusing for me because I usually can't remember, the teams sometimes, but I'll try my best with this one. First place, I'm going to go with the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, losing Freddie Peralta, I don't think is going to be a problem for them. I mean, they got Jacob Mizorowski. Not sure about Brandon Woodruff because, again, I haven't looked at the roster recently. Christian Yelich, I know, is one, and the rest of them, again, I'm not too sure. But Brewers, I think, get about 86 wins. Second place, I'm going to go to Chicago Cubs. Seiya Suzuki starts the season on the injured list, and I think that Shota and Managa guy, I can never remember his name. I think he starts the season on the injured list. But they've got, pitchers and hitters as well, too. I mean, they're a pretty good squad. I think 85 wins they should get. Third place, now here's where I can't remember sometimes. Okay. Third place, I'm going to go with the St. Louis Cardinals. That probably is going to be a little bit questionable again, but they lost, Paul Goldschmidt, years ago, but losing Nolan Arenado to the Diamondbacks is probably going to be a little bit tough for them, but I still think they'll put together about 77 wins. I mean, not a lot to say about that, but it is what it is. I mean, yeah. Fourth place, I'm gonna have to say I had the team and now I lost it. Shoot. Uh, the Cincinnati Reds for fourth place. I mean, they got pretty good players on there too. I mean, like the pitching is a little tough, with Hunter Green being out for a while and Nick Lodolo being on the injured list. But yeah, 71 wins I think would be pretty good for them. I mean, I think that sounds about right. And last place, the Pittsburgh Pirates. Yes, they have former Oriole Ryan O'Hearn on the roster, and they've got a few others as well, like the rotation of Paul Skeens and the reigning Cy Young Award winner for the National League. And people would probably say, well, Paul Skeens will probably get traded, from the Pirates. Well, I don't really know about that. I mean, I think well, the Pirates, could do a little bit better, than fifth place. I mean, everybody is probably projecting at least third place for them, maybe even better than that. But the hitting is just not really there. I mean, Connor Griffin's an upcoming player. They still got Ryan Reynolds and O'Neill Cruz, as far as I know. They didn't bring back Andrew McCutcheon. He went to the Texas Rangers. I forgot to mention him on there, but that's okay. Um, Yeah, Pirates. I'm gonna have to say about 62 wins. So yeah, excuse me. And now for the last one, the National League West. First place is gonna have to be the Dodgers. I mean, why not? You got Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Roki Sasaki. I think personally he should be the closer. I mean, he did do pretty well, but he's probably going to be in the rotation. The closer is going to be, I don't know about Blake Trinan or Tanner Scott. I mean, Tanner Scott, I don't think it's going to be, after all the blown saves that he did. But they did bring in Kyle Tucker, and they got Freddie Freeman, and they got Teoscar Hernandez. They got a good amount of names. And of course, Shohei Ohtani, I mean, could possibly win the MVP again for the National League, and he can also pitch, but still should be a pretty good season for them. I say 96 wins they get, probably the best record in baseball. Second place is going to have to be um uh don't really want to go with that team, for second place. So instead, I'm going to go with the San Francisco Giants. Probably should be the other team, but I'm going with the Giants, Logan Webb, I think it is, yeah. Logan Webb is a pretty good pitcher, and Robbie Ray is also in there too, the former Cy Young Award winner back in 2021. Elliot Ramos is pretty good. He's now going to be the second straight open day left fielder ever since 2007, which was Barry Bonds. They had a person who started left field, but After 2007, it wound up being a different person every season from 2008 to 2026. So yeah, pretty crazy fact there, but you'll have to excuse me, you'll have to look that up, and it'll show you on there like the whole entire roster, for the Giants for left fielders. It's pretty crazy, but it's there. Giants, I say you get about 89 wins. Third place, I'm going to go with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Again, I know that sounds a little, questionable, but Nolan Arenado is on the team, and they re-signed Zach Gallen, who I thought was going to go to the Baltimore Orioles, but he went back to the Diamondbacks, which I'm totally fine with. They don't have Corbin Burns, as I mentioned, but they have Corbin Carroll and Ketel Marte. They lost Blaze Alexander to Baltimore because they need an infielder, but don't think that's going to hurt them. But they do have Jordan Lawler, and they got no, they don't have Christian Walker. I can't remember their names. Alec Thomas, I think, or whatever his name is. There's one of them on there. But Lourdes Gurriel is going to start the season on the injured list, and I can't remember their names. I'm sorry, but I still think the Diamondbacks get 85 wins. Fourth place, I'm going to go with the San Diego Padres. I know that everybody's probably giving a thumbs down or whatever, and probably saying no, that's wrong. I mean, I know they got Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., and I can't stand both of them. For one, Tatis is a cheater, and Machado is a loser and a crybaby. Got a bad attitude too. I'm glad he's not with Baltimore anymore. He was definitely not going to be the next Brooks Robinson. That's for damn sure. But and from what I saw in here, they don't have Yu Darvish for this season. They look like it said that Yu Darvish is going to miss the entire season. So yeah, but they got some other people too. I think Musgrove is in there, and I think Michael King is. I think he signed with them, and Nick Pavetta, who will be their opening day starter. And they got some others too, but Padres, I think, get about 82 wins. And last place would have to be, of course, the Colorado Rockies. The Rockies, there's nothing really to say. I mean, between them and the White Sox, like who would get the first, pick for the MLB draft, I really think it's going to go to the White Sox, and probably the Rockies will get number two, then probably Tampa Bay. But then again, yeah. But the Rockies, there's not a whole lot there. Just a lot of people I think that could be traded, like Ezekiel Tovar, Brenton Doyle, Hunter Goodman. Just names on there that I'm pretty sure could possibly leave the roster, and go somewhere else. Like maybe the Yankees, or I don't think the Orioles would really have any intention over them. But it's just a possibility, Like I said, it's just, my I just think, it could possibly happen. They could get traded. Then again, maybe not. And of course, Chris Bryant will start on the season on the injured list. And I also forgot to mention Anthony Rendon also starting the season on the injured list with the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. And they agreed to like a buyout or something, and they're like gonna like buy out his contract or something like that. But they'll probably still have to pay him, or I don't really know exactly how that would work. But Bryant possibly will be back in the month of, from what I read online earlier, probably in the month of July or something, but I don't really see it as a possibility for him coming back. But yeah, let's see. The wins for them. I say about 64 they get, something like that. I can't remember what I said for the White Sox. I think it was less than that. I think it was 62 or, yeah. But anyway, um, excuse me. Um, that's probably gonna have to do it. I mean, that's the whole entire teams that we covered, and it didn't take me too long. I mean, it only took me less than an hour. I mean, but that's not bad. Um, not doing like who will win, like the MVP, the Cy Young, and stuff. That's why I entitled this video "The Season Predictions." But yeah, well, I'm gonna wrap this up, everybody. Hope everybody enjoyed this. So feel free to comment, and you can say like your predictions and stuff. Sorry we didn't get anybody to come in here and say what their predictions were. But once again, hope everybody enjoyed. So as always, like, comment, and subscribe. Not a bad thing, a good thing. You all take care, and thanks again for joining and watching.